There's someone in your life right now, and something about them just doesn't feel right. You can't explain it. You can't put your finger on it. But every time you walk away from them, you feel a little smaller, a little more confused, a little more drained, and the worst part, you keep questioning yourself. You keep thinking, maybe it's me, maybe I'm the problem. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share might be the most important thing you watch this week. We've all been there. You meet someone, and at first, everything seems fine. They're charming, they're warm, they make you feel special. Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's someone you thought was a close friend. Maybe it's someone even closer than that. But then slowly, things start to shift. You notice they twist your words. You notice you're always apologizing, even when you didn't do anything wrong. You notice that somehow every conversation ends with you feeling guilty and them walking away, perfectly clean. And here's the thing, nobody talks about truly harmful people don't walk around looking like villains. They don't come with warning labels. They come with a smile. They come with compliments. They come with just enough warmth to keep you second-guessing yourself. That's what makes them so dangerous. This isn't about being paranoid. This isn't about seeing evil in everyone around you. The Stoics, those ancient thinkers who spent their entire lives figuring out how to live well, they knew that the greatest threats in life aren't always loud. Sometimes the most damaging forces come quietly, wrapped in kindness, wrapped in love, wrapped in the face of someone you trust. So today, we're going to talk about 5 signs, real practical signs, that you might be dealing with someone who is genuinely harmful to your life. And more importantly, we're going to talk about what to do about it. The first sign is something called gaslighting. And I know that word gets used a lot online, but I want you to really understand what it actually feels like in real life. It doesn't feel like abuse. It feels like confusion. You'll say something like, "Hey, when you said that yesterday, it really hurt me." And instead of them saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that," they say, "I never said that. You're imagining things. You're too sensitive. You always do this. You twist everything." And you stand there thinking, wait, did that happen? Did I imagine it? That right there, that moment of self-doubt, that's the goal. That's exactly what they want. I want to tell you about a guy I'll call Marcus. He worked in a small company with a manager who was sharp, clever, and extremely well-liked by upper management. Every time Marcus raised a concern about a deadline, about workload, about something that was said in a meeting, his manager would look at him with this calm, almost pitying expression and say, "I don't think that's what happened. Maybe you're just stressed. Maybe you should take a break." After 6 months, Marcus started to believe it. He started to think he was the problem. He stopped speaking up. He stopped trusting his own memory. He became smaller and smaller until one day he realized he was afraid to have an opinion in his own workplace. That's what gaslighting does. It doesn't just change how you feel about one situation. It rewires how you feel about yourself. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of knowing what is true within yourself, of returning to your own reason no matter what the world throws at you. He understood that the most powerful thing a person can do is trust their own mind. So here's what you do. When someone makes you feel crazy for having a normal emotional response, You write it down immediately. Date, time, what was said, what happened. Because memory is vulnerable, but a written record is not. You anchor yourself in reality. You stop arguing with the person who's trying to unmoor you, and you start building your own foundation of truth. If someone consistently makes you question your own memory, your own feelings, your own perception of reality, that's not a communication problem. That's a red flag, a serious one. Here's one of the most uncomfortable truths about harmful people. They're not always cold. In fact, they can be incredibly warm, funny, generous, attentive. But here's the pattern. Pay close attention. Their kindness always comes just before they need something, or right after they've done something to hurt you. It's never just kindness. There's always a transaction happening underneath it. Think about it. Have you ever had a person in your life who ignored you for weeks, and then one day they're texting you constantly, calling you their favorite person, making you feel so seen and appreciated, and then 2 days later they ask you for money or a favor or your time, and then the moment you say no, the warmth disappears. Instantly, like a switch was flipped. That's not affection, that's management. There's a concept in psychology called intermittent reinforcement. It's actually the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. You never know when the reward is coming, so you keep playing, keep hoping, keep giving. Because the moments when they're warm and kind feel so good that you'll tolerate the cold stretches in between. Evil people, and I use that word carefully, they are almost always masters of this without even being aware of it. They give you just enough to keep you invested, and they take far more than they ever give. A young woman I know, I'll call her Priya, spent 3 years in a friendship that felt like a roller coaster. Her friend would completely disappear for months, no calls, no texts, and then reappear during a hard time in her own life, needing support, needing someone to talk to. And Priya, being the warm person she is, would show up every time. But the moment things got better for her friend, the silence returned. Priya told me once, I knew something was wrong, but every time she came back, she was so warm that I convinced myself I was overreacting. She wasn't overreacting. She was being used. The Stoics talked about this, about how we must judge people not by their words or their moments of warmth, but by the consistency of their actions over time. Epictetus said that character is revealed not in what people say, but in what they do when no one's watching and when they have nothing to gain. Watch the pattern, not the peaks. Watch what happens when you have nothing to offer. Watch what happens when you say no. That's where the real character lives. I want to pause here for a second, because I know this is hard to hear. Some of you are watching this and a face is coming to mind, someone specific. And part of you doesn't want to believe it. That's okay. That's human. Keep watching, because what comes next might be the most important thing. Everyone makes mistakes. That's just life. The question is never whether someone messes up. It's what they do after. A good person, when they hurt you, feels it. They acknowledge it. They try to repair it. Not perfectly, but genuinely. An evil person, and here I mean someone with a genuinely harmful character, they never truly take responsibility. And they've developed incredibly sophisticated ways of avoiding it. Watch for these 3 moves. So first, the non-apology apology. I'm sorry you feel that way. Or, I'm sorry if I offended you. Notice there's no ownership in those words. They're apologizing for your feelings, not for their actions. They're making you the problem inside the apology itself. Second, they flip the script. You bring up a legitimate concern, and somehow within 3 minutes, the conversation has turned around completely. And now you're defending yourself. You're explaining your tone, your past behavior, something you did 6 months ago that has nothing to do with today. How did that happen? It happened because they're experts at redirection. They turn every accusation into a counter-accusation. Third, they play the victim. The moment you stand up for yourself, they collapse. Suddenly, they're the ones who are hurt. Suddenly, you're the monster. And if you're a caring person, which you are, otherwise you wouldn't still be watching this, you'll feel guilty. You'll back down. You'll apologize. And they'll have won again. I once knew a man, I'll call him David, who was in a business partnership that slowly destroyed him. Every time there was a financial discrepancy, a broken promise, a contract that wasn't honored, his partner had an explanation. And when the explanation didn't work, the partner would get emotional, sad, overwhelmed. I can't believe you'd accuse me of this after everything I've done for you. And David, every time, would feel guilty, would pull back, would apologize. By the time David finally walked away, he'd lost money, lost time, lost confidence, and somehow still felt like he was the bad guy. He wasn't. He'd just never learned to see the pattern. The Stoic Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are." Knowing them for what they are, that's the hard part, because these people are skilled at making themselves look like victims even as they play the role of predator. Here's your practical tool. Trust behavior, not explanations. Anyone can explain anything, but what did they actually do? What keeps actually happening? When there's a pattern of harm and a pattern of zero accountability, you're not dealing with someone who made a mistake. You're dealing with someone who has decided that the rules of responsibility don't apply to them. This one is subtle. This one happens so slowly that most people don't notice it until they look up one day and realize they're alone. It doesn't start dramatically. It starts with small comments. "I don't know why you spend so much time with those friends. They don't really care about you the way I do." Or, "Your family always had a way of making you feel bad about yourself. I'm surprised you still talk to them so much." Little seeds planted carefully, because here's the thing. A person who wants to control you or harm you knows that the biggest obstacle to that is the people around you who see clearly. Your old friends who remember who you were before. Your family members who notice when something seems off. The people who love you without needing anything in return. So those people have to go. But they can't be pushed away, obviously. That would make the harmful person look bad. So instead, they're discredited. One comment at a time. "She's always been jealous of you. He never really liked me." And that affects how he sees our relationship. They just don't understand what we have. And slowly, because you trust this person, because you think they're looking out for you, you start to pull away from everyone else, and then you're alone with them. And alone with them, their version of reality is the only one you hear. I want you to think about your own life for a moment. When you're in a difficult situation, who do you call? Who can you be completely honest with? If the answer to that question has gotten smaller over time, if there are people you used to talk to who you've somehow drifted from since this person entered your life, pay attention to that. The Stoics had a beautiful concept. They called it a council of the wise. The idea that we should surround ourselves with people who tell us the truth, even when the truth is hard. Seneca wrote about how friendship is one of the great protections of life, not because friends make us comfortable, but because they make us honest. If someone is pulling you away from that protection, ask yourself why. Ask yourself whose interests that actually serves. The practical step here is simple, but not easy. Reach out today to someone you've been drifting from. You don't have to say why. Just reconnect. Keep those lines open, because the day you need those people, you'll want them to still be there. This is the one that does the deepest damage, and it's the one people talk about the least. Because this isn't about dramatic cruelty. It's about something quieter, something that seeps into you so gradually that you don't even know it's happening. It's the constant sense that no matter what you do, it's never quite right, never quite enough. You work hard, but not hard enough. You're kind, but a little too sensitive. You succeed, but they find one small flaw in the success. You share good news, and somehow the conversation shifts to what still needs to improve. And here's the cruel genius of it. They frame it as caring. I just want the best for you. I'm pushing you because I believe in you. If I didn't care, I wouldn't say anything. But there's a difference, a profound difference, between someone who challenges you because they believe in your potential and someone who chips away at you because making you feel small makes them feel large. One lifts you, one diminishes you. And after enough time with the second kind of person, you start to carry their voice inside your own head. Even when they're not around, you hear them. Every achievement comes with a footnote of doubt. Every good thing you do gets quietly undermined by that voice that says, "But is it really good enough?" That voice isn't yours. It was planted. I think of a woman, I'll call her Sophia, who spent 4 years with a partner who was never overtly abusive. He never raised his voice, but every meal she cooked had one small thing wrong with it. Every outfit she wore got a comment. Every goal she accomplished was met with a quiet, "That's good, but you could have done more." By the time Sophia left that relationship, she couldn't cook a meal without anxiety. She couldn't choose an outfit without spiraling. She had lost touch with her own sense of self so completely that she didn't know what she liked anymore, what she wanted anymore, who she was anymore. She told me the most painful part wasn't leaving. The most painful part was realizing how long she'd stayed because she actually believed she needed to be better. She believed the problem was her. It wasn't her. Here's what the Stoics would say about this. And Epictetus said it beautifully, having himself spent years as a slave before becoming one of the greatest philosophers in history. Your worth is not something another person can give you or take from you. It exists independent of anyone's opinion, including the opinion of someone who claims to love you. Your worth is not up for negotiation. And when you're with someone who constantly renegotiates it, who keeps moving the goalpost, who keeps making you feel like you're almost there but not quite, that's not love. That's not mentorship. That's control. The practical step? Start noticing how you feel after conversations with this person. Not during, because during, they're often charming. After. Do you feel energized or drained? Do you feel clearer about yourself or more confused? Do you feel more capable or less? Your body knows. Your nervous system keeps score. Trust it. So now you have the 5 signs. And maybe you're sitting with some uncomfortable recognition right now. But here's what I don't want. I don't want you to walk away from this feeling like a victim. Because here's the truth that took me a long time to understand. Recognizing someone for what they are is not weakness. It's one of the most powerful things a human being can do. The Stoics called it clear seeing, the ability to look at reality exactly as it is, without flinching, without softening it, without the lies we tell ourselves, because the truth is uncomfortable. Most people never develop this skill. They go their whole lives surrounded by harmful relationships because they've never learned to see the patterns. You're learning them right now. That matters. So what do you actually do? First, you don't owe a dramatic confrontation to someone who will never hear you. Evil people, genuinely harmful people, don't change because you finally explained it perfectly. They've heard variations of your explanation many times. They have answers ready. What they don't have a defense against is your quiet, consistent withdrawal of energy and access. You pull back, calmly, without announcement. You stop explaining yourself. You stop trying to win arguments that were never designed for you to win. You reduce, minimize, create space. A second, you rebuild what was taken. If they isolated you, reconnect with people. If they made you doubt yourself, find spaces where you can take small actions and prove your own competence back to yourself. If they took your voice, write, journal. Speak your thoughts out loud to yourself. Reclaim the internal conversation. Third, and this is the hardest one, forgive yourself for not seeing it sooner. People who use the tactics we talked about today are skilled. They've often been doing this their entire lives. You're not naive for being fooled by them. You're human. The goal isn't to beat yourself up for trusting. The goal is to trust more wisely going forward. Here's what I want you to carry with you. The ancient Stoics lived in a world that was genuinely dangerous. They faced war, disease, political violence, exile, and yet the philosophy they built wasn't about hiding from the world. It was about moving through it clearly, calmly, with a kind of unshakable inner core that no external force could fully reach. That's what we're building here. That's what this whole conversation is really about. Not paranoia, not walls, not a cold, closed-off version of yourself that trusts nobody, but clarity, the kind of clarity where you can love people fully, give generously, be open and warm, and still, beneath all of that, have a quiet, steady sense of who you are and what you'll accept into your life. Because here's the truth. The most dangerous thing about evil people isn't what they do to you. It's what they make you believe about yourself. The real damage isn't the manipulation or the isolation or the constant criticism. The real damage is when you start to agree with them. Don't agree with them. You came into this world whole. Whatever was taken, your confidence, your voice, your sense of reality, your joy, it can be recovered, not all at once, not without effort. But it can be done. People do it every day. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, a man surrounded by betrayal and political danger and people who wanted to use him, wrote this in his private journal. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You have power over your mind, not over them, not over what they did, not over the time you spent in their orbit, but over what happens next, over how you interpret what happened, over who you choose to become on the other side of it. That's not a small thing. That's everything. So, if you're in a situation like the ones we talked about today, start with one small step, not a revolution, just one thing. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's reaching out to someone you've lost touch with. Maybe it's just sitting quietly and asking yourself, how do I actually feel in this relationship? That question alone is powerful, because harmful people need you not to ask it. Ask it. You deserve relationships that make you more yourself, not less. You deserve people around you who are genuinely glad when you succeed. You deserve to trust your own memory, your own feelings, your own perception of what's real. That's not too much to want. That's the baseline. And you can have it. It starts with seeing clearly, and you just took the first step. If this video reached something in you today, if it gave you language for something you've been feeling but couldn't quite name, I hope you'll share it with someone who might need it too. And if you want more of this, real conversations about mindset, stoicism, and navigating the harder parts of life, consider subscribing. I put a lot of care into every video, and I'd love to keep having this kind of conversation with you. Take care of yourself. Really, that's not just a sign off. That's the whole point.